usually when you think about a wedding dress, there's this expectation of it being a single monolithic entity.
Absolutely, like a sculpture carved from one giant piece of marble.
Right. You go to the boutique, you step onto that little pedestal, look in the mirror, and you just declare, this is the dress.
Yeah, historically, it's really viewed as a singular artifact, an absolute. You're either wearing the gown or you aren't.
Hmm.
And, I mean, that expectation places a massive amount of pressure on a single garment to perform perfectly in, well, every single context of a very complex day.
Oh, for sure. And it's a beautiful tradition, but it is incredibly rigid.
Yeah.
You're locked into that one silhouette, that one heavy fabric for 12, maybe 14 hours.
Yeah, which is exhausting.
Right. But if you look at what is actually happening in modern bridal fashion right now, that marble statue is being completely deconstructed.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into a massive paradigm shift in bridal fashion.
It's a huge shift.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we're pulling our insights directly from the Weddizer website. If you haven't checked it out, you really should. Their articles section is this fantastic hub for navigating wedding event planning.
It's incredibly detailed.
Yeah, especially for highly curated fashion styling and just practical trend-forward guidance. It's perfectly tailored for this niche. So we're zeroing in on a specific guide they published about bridal separates, basically building custom wedding looks from corsets, tops, and skirts.
Which is just revolutionizing the industry right now.
Okay, let's unpack this, because instead of that traditional single gown, brides are opting to become their own architects. They're taking individual structured tops and flowing skirts and just combining them to build a look entirely from the ground up.
It really is an architectural shift. We're moving from the monolithic to the modular.
Modular, exactly.
And what's crucial to understand right off the bat is that this isn't just, a fleeting micro-trend for a niche group of avant-garde dressmakers.
Right, it's not just a passing fad.
Not at all. The rise of bridal represents a fundamental rethinking of how a bridal look is built. It's driven by this intense desire for complete agency over the aesthetic.
Because when you buy a traditional dress, you are essentially buying someone else's vision.
Exactly. You're stepping into the designer's narrative.
But with separates, you control the story. The source material highlights this beautifully. Like, you might love the deeply romantic vintage feel of heavy lace.
Oh, sure.
But you don't want to look like you just stepped out of an antique photograph. So you take that vintage lace bodice, but you anchor it with an ultra-modern, sleek, minimalist satin skirt.
Yeah, you're creating a deliberate visual tension there between two different eras or moods.
Right.
When you purchase a single gown, the designer has already made all those compromises for you. If the top is heavily beaded, they might have simplified the skirt to keep the cost or the weight down.
Oh, I never even thought about the weight aspect.
Oh yeah, heavy beading adds up fast. But with separates, you aren't forced into those pre-packaged compromises. You get to dictate the level of drama on both halves of your body.
I love that.
Yeah.
And from a purely practical standpoint, think about how human bodies are actually shaped.
Right.
Almost nobody is a perfect standard size 6 on both their top and bottom halves. Traditional alterations on a highly structured single-piece gown can be an absolute nightmare.
And incredibly expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But with separates, you can buy a size 8 bodice and a size 12 skirt right off the rack. And suddenly, half your tailoring issues simply disappear.
That is a phenomenal point about the pragmatism of this trend. And that pragmatism extends directly into how we actually experience modern weddings.
How so?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, weddings today often involve multiple, highly distinct phases. You might have a formal, reverent ceremony in a traditional venue, followed by a sit-down dinner.
Right.
And then, a high-energy club-like reception that goes until 2 in the morning.
And a single dress almost never thrives in all three of those environments.
Exactly.
You either look amazing at the ceremony, but you literally can't lift your arms to dance.
We've all seen that happen.
Or you buy a comfortable party dress that feels a little too casual for the formal vows.
Precisely. And this is where the modularity becomes a superpower. Separates allow for incredibly easy dynamic outfit changes without the massive expense of buying a completely second or third dress.
So you just swap out the pieces.
Yeah. You keep your beautifully structured bodice, but after the ceremony, you unhook the massive, heavy cathedral skirt and just step into a lighter, fluid silk skirt for dinner.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then later on, you swap that for a playful, short, tailored skirt for the dance floor. The core of your look remains consistent, but the functionality evolves with the evening.
It's like having a high-end capsule wardrobe just for your wedding day. I love that. And honestly, it plays right into another major shift the Weddizer articles point to, which is sustainability.
Oh, definitely.
It's almost like the girl math of bridal wear. If you spend $3,000 on a massive gown, you wear it once, seal it in a box, and the cost per wear is exactly $3,000.
Right. It's a one-time thing.
But if you spend that same amount on a stunning silk blouse and a custom corset, you can absolutely wear those pieces again. If you wear that silk top for your anniversary dinners over the next 10 years, the cost per wear suddenly justifies the luxury price tag.
It's a complete reframing of value.
Yeah.
The value is no longer in the historical preservation of the garment, but in its ongoing utility. It really captures this cultural shift toward mindful consumption.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Now that we understand the philosophy of why we're tearing the dress apart, let's talk about the actual physical construction of putting it back together.
Let's do it.
Let's build this look from the top down. The Weddizer styling guides point out that corsets are making a massive, dominant comeback as the foundation of these looks.
They really are.
We're talking bone structures, classic lace-up backs, or modern zip closures, heavy embellishments.
Yeah, they are heavily engineered garments. They provide that architectural structure that a lot of brides still deeply want on their wedding day. It gives that very flattering, tailored, almost sculptural silhouette to the torso.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here.
Oh,
We literally just spent the last 5 minutes talking about how this entire modular trend is driven by comfort, range of motion, and practicality.
right.
Isn't a tightly boned lace-up corset the exact historical opposite of comfort? I mean, we're talking about a garment famously designed to restrict breathing and rearrange internal organs.
That is such a valid reaction. It raises an important question because when you hear the word corset, you immediately think of that.
Yeah, total restriction.
But we have to separate the historical cage from the modern architectural garment. Today's designers are not trying to alter your skeletal structure.
Okay, that's a relief.
The engineering of a modern bridal corset is fundamentally different. Instead of rigid, punishing steel and whalebone, modern corsetry uses synthetic spiral boning.
Spiral boning, how does that change things?
Well, think of it like a flexible spine rather than a solid rod. Spiral boning bends and twists with the natural movement of the body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can actually lean over, you can sit down comfortably, and you can breathe deeply because the materials flex outward and snap back into place.
Okay, that makes so much more sense.
Furthermore, designers are building these structures into breathable stretch mesh fabrics rather than heavy, unyielding canvas. It provides the aesthetic of intense structure without the historical torture.
Right.
It acts almost like a wearable, supportive frame for the rest of the outfit.
So it's the illusion of a rigid structure, but the reality is much more forgiving.
Exactly. And because a corset inherently draws the eye and creates such a strong, fitted focal point, the source material offers a brilliant styling note. You have to balance that architectural intensity. They suggest pairing that highly fitted top with a much more relaxed, flowing skirt. Let the top be the structure and the bottom be the softness.
Oh, I see.
And if a full corset feels too bold or revealing, designers are doing incredible things by softening the aesthetic with sheer sleeves or an overlay.
Right, which brings us to the alternative options. If you don't want the intense architecture of a corset, the trend pivots to these beautifully soft bridal tops. The articles highlight incredibly fluid silk blouses, off-shoulder designs, and, honestly, my personal favorite, illusion tops.
Illusion tops are a fascinating piece of garment engineering in their own right.
They really are. For anyone who hasn't seen one up close, an illusion top uses a layer of ultra-fine sheer netting that is matched exactly to your skin tone.
Right, so it blends in completely.
Yeah, it practically vanishes against the skin. And then designers will applique intricate lace or beading directly onto that netting. So visually, it looks like these beautiful lace vines are just magically floating on your collarbone or climbing up your arms.
It's a masterclass in visual trickery.
It really gives you the coverage and security of a full top, but the visual impact of being bare.
Absolutely. And these separate tops also introduce a massive seasonal advantage.
Oh, true.
If you're having a winter wedding, you don't have to freeze in a strapless gown just to get the silhouette you want. Swapping a sleeveless corset for an elegant long-sleeve lace top is the perfect practical pivot.
That is so smart.
You get the warmth and the seasonal appropriateness without sacrificing an ounce of style.
Which naturally leads us to the other half of the equation. If the top half of the outfit provides the structure, the texture, or the seasonal pragmatism, we have to look downward.
The lower half entirely dictates the mood.
Yes. The skirt is the statement piece. To me, it feels like the top is the personality of the bride, but the skirt.
Yeah.
The skirt is the genre of the movie you're starring in.
The genre of the movie, that is a perfect way to conceptualize it. What's fascinating here is how the designers manipulate that genre through the literal physics of the fabric.
The physics, I like that.
It's not just about the shape. It's about how different materials interact with gravity and movement.
Right, because the guide breaks down several archetypes, and they all behave so differently. You've got the A-line skirt, which gives you that classic, timeless silhouette, or the mermaid skirt for that high glamour, red carpet, really contoured look.
And those shapes are entirely dependent on the textiles chosen. If a bride wants a dramatic sculptural skirt that holds its shape even when she's standing completely still, the designer will use a stiff fabric like organza or a heavy Duchess satin.
Right, the heavy stuff.
Exactly. Those fabrics have their own structural integrity, they fight gravity. But if the bride wants a tulle skirt, which is pure dreaminess and romance, she's relying on the physics of air.
Because tulle is essentially a micro mesh, right?
Yeah.
It catches the air.
That's exactly it. When you layer 10 tiers of lightweight tulle, it creates immense volume without the crushing weight. As the bride walks, the air gets trapped between those sheer layers, creating this incredible, floating, cloud-like movement. Conversely, if you want a sleek liquid look, you use a heavy silk crepe or chiffon that offers zero resistance to gravity. It just pools and drapes beautifully against the floor.
Okay, let's be real though. This sounds amazing. In theory, customizing the top, picking the physics of the skirt.
It's very appealing.
But practically speaking, there is a pretty massive potential pitfall here. If you're mixing a heavily structured winter lace corset with a light summer chiffon skirt, won't it just look like you got dressed in the dark?
That is a very real danger, yes.
Right. How do you prevent this modular approach from looking like a disjointed two-piece outfit you just threw together at the last minute? You will look like a bride, not like you're going out to a nice brunch.
That is the ultimate risk of modularity fragmentation. The human eye instinctively looks for patterns and unity. If the top and the bottom are speaking completely different visual languages, the outfit clashes and the viewer's brain registers it as two separate conflicting garments. You need to establish cohesion.
And thankfully, the styling guides on Weddizer lay out a literal masterclass in how to hack that visual cohesion. The first rule is utilizing cohesive color palettes.
Yes.
And this isn't just about matching whites. It's about understanding how color acts as visual glue.
Color is the strongest unifier. The source material emphasizes sticking to the bridal spectrum, your stark whites, warm ivories, blushes, and champagnes.
Right.
When you keep the tones within the same tight family, you immediately signal to the brain these two pieces belong to the same thought. Even if the top is lace and the bottom is satin, a perfectly matched ivory tone creates a seamless vertical line for the eye to follow.
But even if the colors match perfectly, you can still run into trouble if the shapes are fighting each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Which brings up the second crucial concept, balancing proportions. It's basically the seesaw effect of styling.
The seesaw effect is exactly how designers approach this. The eye can only handle so much visual information at once.
Exactly.
If you have a top that is heavily embellished, maybe dripping in pearls, thick 3D floral appliques, or intense architectural boning, you must pair it with a simple, clean skirt. You let the top do the talking.
And vice versa. If your skirt is a massive, dramatic explosion of ruffled tulle that takes up half the room, you have to keep the top minimalist.
Exactly.
Because if both pieces are shouting for attention at maximum volume, they just cancel each other out.
Yeah.
It stops looking fashionable and starts looking like a costume.
It creates visual fatigue. Now, the third principle is fabric harmony, which sounds like it contradicts what we just said about contrast, but it's actually about intentional contrast.
Intentional being the key word.
Right. You don't want fabrics that accidentally look mismatched. You want fabrics that purposefully elevate one another.
Like pairing the intricate matte detail of a heavy lace top with the smooth, reflective finish of a silk skirt.
Exactly. The matte absorbs light and the silk reflects it. That interplay creates depth.
Oh, I love that.
Or pairing the airy, weightless quality of a chiffon top with the grounded, structured weight of a tailored crepe skirt. This is where you elevate the outfit from a DIY craft project to true high fashion. You're intentionally manipulating texture to create a dynamic but unified look.
And then there's the final